The National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Federal Health Institution sector has called on the federal government to declare a state of emergency on the health sector. It said that an emergency approach was needed to resolve the issues that border on health administration, practices, headship, lack of health equipment, and welfare of all stakeholders in the industry. Yesterday, a promising young Nigerian man identified as Chris lost his life due to the lack of oxygen in 5 hospitals. This is one of many cases where our health system, lack of good health system, has cost Nigerian lives. Now, we've discussed this over and over again many times. We cannot overemphasize how important the health sector is. But yesterday, the story of Chris went viral, where his picture was posted by a couple of his friends saying that he struggled to live, survived 5 hospitals before giving up, but they didn't have oxygen.
5 hospitals,
no
oxygen.
And the midwives have threatened to go on strike if their needs are not met. Though the resident doctors suspended their strikes, the midwives are, even while they were on strike, midwives usually are like the backup plan, and they're the ones that take most deliveries. We already have a high mortality rate as it is. Talk of now saying they would also go on strike. So the discussion is centered around, how do you think we can improve the health sector? What do you think we should do? How can we pressure the government more to do more concerning this?
Sadly, we've always talked about a state of emergency in the health sector, and now the midwives are saying it. Everybody is saying it, but the people who are supposed to be heeding our call are the ones that we have a problem with. The sincerity in the approach is also very important, in the sense that you cannot have an alternative when you're heeding that call. When you have an alternative in going abroad, you would not sincerely attack the issues in the health sector. Sitting on the couch here, we almost all the time are in agreement as to, the quality of health services that we have, the best of our hands, being drained abroad, the facilities within hospitals, forms of insurance, all that. We've done almost everything on your view. If our health sector should come and give us an award for talking about health issues on your view, that's how important we've, and how much we've overemphasized it. But the necessary authorities who should be listening. We brought the House Committee Chairman on health on your view. We've talked about, different approaches. We only have, let me say, 50% success story in Lagos. Other states, we have problem. All FMCs have issues. FMC Owerri to date has issues, with the hierarchy and all that. And I've talked about cover-up within health, personnel. We cannot continue like this.
Something has to be done.
We cannot overemphasize the fact that our leaders must not and should not go abroad. Because when, like Nima has said, they have an alternative, they will continue to let the health sector decay. And how can you tell me that someone went to 5 hospitals? I didn't watch the video. I'm not really a social media person. But hearing the story, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. You have old people who should be even ready to give up, going abroad. No,
I don't think YK, they realize we make it look like going abroad is, and the thing is, they think that going abroad is a quick solution. But the point is, when you are traveling interstate, like sadly the story of late Ocholi, and you have an accident, and the infrastructures that can rescue, you can't travel abroad. Some of the people could have been rescued, but there was no speedy emergency service. So you are not free.
I mean, look at that former governor that had an accident.
Yeah,
he had built this state-of-the-art hospital, and he still went abroad for treatment.
No, he said he went abroad because of political opposition. So have privacy and be sure that you are protected while getting treatment.
I think we have
There's
talked
always
about
an excuse.
This. Yes, we have talked about this over and over. The thing is, our leaders are not empathizing with us. They are not putting themselves in our position. Because if you empathize with somebody, you put yourself in that person's shoes. If it was me that had no ability to travel, how will I survive? I would have lost my last baby in the hospital if there was no oxygen. Because she came out blue. She wasted time coming out, and by the time she came out, she was blue.
Almost, yes.
And then my saving grace was that it was oxygen. But then the nurse refused to put the oxygen on. And that was now the issue, but thank God they were able to get up the oxygen.
That's how important.
That's how my mom died now. There was no oxygen in the hospital. We carried her to the hospital. They were running up and down, running up, trying to get oxygen. Of course, she gave up.
So if they can empathize.
So the case of the hospital management body, because one of the issues that the midwives raised was administrative issues. Okay. And Nima mentioned the cover-up. So when they hear there's going to be an inspection, everybody, literally just a few weeks ago, my son had an emergency and we had to go to the hospital. And I came back and I mentioned how they didn't have... there's a respiratory breathing nebulizer. They didn't have they had 3 nebulizers in the ward, and the 3 of them wasn't working well, and he was at it for like 30 minutes or almost an hour. My hand was like this because I had to help him hold it to his nose. To think that I'd been there for 45 minutes and nothing was happening. Wow. So a nurse
could have gone wrong.
Do you understand? A nurse now came and said, I don't think this thing is working well. I said, but I've been holding it. He said, all these our machines are not good. Let me go and check. Let me go to the next floor and check another one. And they now brought one, and in 30 minutes it was done. So it was obvious that these things, and I said, but why did you report that these 3 nebulizers bad? The next day we went for a checkup, and all the papers were packed up. Why are the packing papers? Say they're coming for checkup. We're arranging everywhere. I don't clean them all. So apparently a person coming to supervise what is going on will not see what is going on.
Did you not hear Honorable Lulade on the show when he was talking, and I was saying about hospitals, and he said, they do their checks. But when I was in the hospital, they were going to come. In fact, they bought rugs. They cleaned everywhere. If you see the massive cleaning.
Do you remember the video I posted on our WhatsApp group yesterday? About this, I can't remember the country. It was like Uganda or something like that. The health, she was a minister or something. She went, the hospital was supposed to be giving free treatment, like general hospital, but they were taking money. So she went, she had her hijab. So they didn't know who she was.
Coming, yes. That's what I wanted to say now.
She went there, they asked for 5,000. They asked for 30,000. She said she only had 5,000. And it was her transport home. I said she should go because she's not, they don't want her to walk home. She said, no, she would pay because she's really ill. In the end, she went for scan. Those ones wanted 30,000.
And it was
by the time they read all of them and they identified who she was.
Now, that's the way what we need to do here.
That's the kind of investigation.
That's what we need to do here. And we need to do it speedily.
You don't tell them that you're coming
we have a
and
phone
they get
call,
prepared.
though. Calling all the way from Warri Delta State.
Yeah.
What's your experience? Oh, welcome to the show. First time caller. What's your experience with our health sector?
Yeah. Well, I think that the problems we're having is way more than what the government can handle.
Why?
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Go ahead, please.
So,
fire on.
I think we lost the call. So you see, the thing is, some people share the opinion that Anthony saying that the government can't handle everything. We can't belabor the government, and to an extent they make sense because there are people in the government and they are the ones in charge. The inefficiency of the people is what we're seeing. So if 1 billion was dedicated to the health sector and only 10% of that actually gets to work what it's meant to do, then it's not. Is it government or the people in charge? Is it the people in charge?
We are our own problem in the sense that government might put together. Okay, in Lagos State, for instance, the Lagos State Mother and Child Care Centers. When you see the status of each child, there was a major, deliberate intention to invest in health care. Initially, when the one in Amodofi was built, I would drive past it to my family clinic, a private clinic. I would never have imagined in my life that's where I would find solution in another situation. But once I went there, I did, it was until I went inside, I saw, somebody had deliberately invested in building this facility. They had
and some people are not maintaining it.
Somebody watched everything, go down. I met an MD in whose time things were working. And within my stay there, there was a change and everything went down.
Okay. The problem we also have is maintenance culture. Now, these facilities are
there's also the issue of bureaucracy, hierarchy. Writing to the HSC to get approval, to buy ordinary window nets for mosquito, to buy a change of beds, to write and approval and all that.
Can I just say something? The people are a reflection of the government. If you don't...
Or the government is a reflection of the people.
No. If you can't blame the people, because we are just like a... Look,
we are government now.
The government is our father and our mother now.
We are still the government.
It's like, look, listen, if you leave your mother's house and you are a thief, they will say, Mama and you, the mother didn't train how well. Or the
so we require better supervision from the government. They should do some James Bond moves and find out what is actually going on.
Chibuzo Jonathan is saying, for medical checkup, ECC, there won't be urgency in our medical sector. It's so painful. I lost my elder sister in labor here in Lagos. And Moses Hassan says, nothing will improve in our country until our leaders patronize our hospitals, schools, cars, and Nigerian products. Akim Amao says, Oyo Ogun State can provide buses and free accident and emergency treatment centers for victims. It's a no-brainer. And Ademiroju says, please, for what will happen during a state of emergency? Would it work if there is no holistic and concrete plan? Asking the ladies of your view. And the last is Ms. Pearl said, what amazes me is that those leaders going for treatment abroad go to public hospitals over there. And James Kelvin says this is so disappointing that up to 5 hospitals in the country like Nigeria
didn't have oxygen
or cannot afford oxygen to save people's lives.
Sadly, that's all that we can take on the show today. So generally, it seems like we're just ranting, but we can't overemphasize how important the health sector is. So we'll keep on talking about it over and over again. Up next, we discuss childhood cancer. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Childhood cancer is gradually becoming a menace in our society as it ravages dreams of some young children and teenagers. Experts have decried poor awareness and support being given to children living with this disease. According to the World Health Organization, each year, more than 150,000 children are diagnosed with cancer. Joining us today is an oncologist, Adedayo Joseph. Also, we have a 4-year-old cancer patient, Emmanuel, and his mom, Obienu Perpetual. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is, today is our Healthy Tuesday, and we tend to talk about health-related issues. And this month is recognized worldwide as the Child Cancer Awareness Month. And that's why we brought you here, because we want to give more awareness to this issue of child cancer. Please break down what causes child cancer. I used to think it was strictly for older people or something like that.
Okay. One of the commonest misconceptions is that children don't get cancer. And childhood cancer isn't one specific type of cancer. It's just the same as adults. There are many different types of cancer in children. Emmanuel had womb tumor, which is a cancer of the kidney called nephroblastoma. And he's not a patient anymore. He's a survivor now.
Whoa.
Yes.
Thank God. So, like, you've clarified that cancer isn't strictly, the cancer for children isn't one specific time. It could be anything.
Yes, there's several different types.
We didn't used to know about cancer in children. Apparently, there's a rise in the number. It wasn't this common, or was it that it's always been there, we are not aware of it?
I can't be certain that it has become more common. I think what it is there's more awareness now. More children are getting treated, more children are coming into the hospital. So incidence rises, but that doesn't always equal to prevalence.
No, for me, the concern would be, what would, like you said, they've always existed, but what would you be looking at in a child to, to think that, this child might have cancer? What usually would expect a child to have is symptoms.
The common denominator with these children is usually that they've been ill for a long time. They've been going to the hospital, in and out of the hospital over and over again, being treated for malaria and infection and, the same things over and over again. So what I would say look for is, if your child is being treated repeatedly and you don't seem to be finding a solution, then it's time to look deeper, to dig deeper, or ask for a referral, or something.
So, like, how old was he when, his diagnosis came?
He was that last year, August. He fell down with the left side of the stomach. From there, we went to several hospital there because we don't base in Lagos here. We went to private hospital. They say it's an infection, that they need to treat him infection. From there, they treat him, everything, both antibiotic and the drip. After some weeks after, everything goes down, the stomach goes down. Within that November, the stomach started swelling in the night, fever continuously high, the body temperature goes high, and I think this boy is not behaving like this. They treat him for infection, and the same sister still come back again. From there, my husband now said no, and they normally lie down where it's cold place, and to eat is problem, and every day loss of weight, loss of appetite, and if you look at him, he cannot walk very well. The stomach gets enlarged. My husband said no, instead of us start going to private hospital, we should come back to Lagos here. There's so many specialists there. Then we came to Lagos. We went to another private hospital, but that place is bigger place. They said they need to do X-ray and scan. It's from that place they detect that they have wound tumor, cancer of the kidney. That they now called my husband. They said they cannot treat him there. It's still early stage, that the thing have not spread to the lumps and the other side of the body. Then we need to go to Lut. That is the place that we need to get a proper treatment for that cancer.
Doctor, what predisposes?
Can I just ask, is it the fall that caused the cancer
Absolutely
to
not.
develop?
Absolutely
Not, but it develop it. It make it develop, because as it fall down with force, it make the tumor cells spread. And spread is
that the issue?
She is right in a little way. For instance, when we have children with abdominal tumors, we avoid pressing because you don't want to disseminate the cells. But what I tell people regarding the falls, because even with osteosarcomas a lot, the story is that the child had some trauma. It's not the trauma. It's not the trauma that caused the cancer. The cancer was there. Children fall down all the time. They fall down, they get up, and they keep going. When he falls down and then he's in pain for a long time, it's because something is wrong. And that's why that usually comes to attention of the parents. So that's what it is.
So apparently, they were able to diagnose Emmanuel's case early enough.
Absolutely.
Which is the case with all cancers, that the earlier you diagnose, the likelihood of your survival of it. So what are the checks parents need to be aware of, so that we're more, what are the things you should be, what are the things you should observe? What are the questions you should ask when you get to the hospital?
A child like this, is it the lifestyle of the mother before birth? Is there any link?
Absolutely not. The only certainty in terms of predisposition is a genetic aberration, which you usually wouldn't know about unless there's a family history that has pointed that out before. What we should check for is make sure that when our child is ill, we go to the hospital. That's the first step. A lot of people treat the babies at home and don't bother going to the hospital. When you go to the hospital, make sure you're being treated by a doctor, a qualified one. When you've been treated twice and nothing is changing, then it's time to ask for a referral and see someone who is a pediatrician, a doctor, you know. And then from the pediatrician, move to a specialist hospital. Children's cancer cannot be treated in a private hospital. I'm sorry to say this, I don't mean to offend anyone. But you need to be in a center where you have all the specialists coming together. And that's where we need to be if we're going to treat a child who has cancer. So let's stand up for our rights. Parents are usually afraid to speak up, to say, even me, I go to the hospital and I find that I'm afraid to tell them I'm a doctor, I don't want to be too aggressive. I've gotten over all of that now. If I'm not satisfied, I'm gonna, what are you doing? Why are you giving it? It's not working. Are you going to do something different, or are you going to refer me to someone who can do something different? That's what it is.
Young man, how is he now?
He's doing fine.
Very well.
As you can see him, he's doing fine.
Very active now.
Very active.
Did he have to go through chemo?
Yes, ma'am. Both chemo, radiotherapy, surgery. Everything.
Okay, so they are here. So what's the cost? How expensive is it? Because people would, you know,
it's very, very expensive. When you go to Lut Oncology, you see what is happening there. Very expensive, but thank God for today.
We thank God. We thank God. We thank God for his life.
We thank God for his life. What is the success rate concerning treatment of childhood cancer? Because we know that for adults,
childhood cancers have an excellent prognosis. In many countries, you have 80% survival with children. They have certain cancers that I tell people all the time, retinoblastoma, they don't even talk about survival anymore in staging. What they worry about is, can they preserve vision in the eye? So they do have an excellent, but we have to get them into the hospital in the early stages. It's easier to treat a tumor in stage 1 than in stage 4. And even here, we're beginning to have very good success rates with the children that we do see. What we must realize is that most of these children, we don't even get to see them. 70% of them will never get to the desk of a pediatric oncologist. That's the problem here. So it's the reason why we're making so much noise about awareness. The children are 100% dependent on the decisions that are made for them by their parents or their family. So a lot of these children will end up with a traditional healer or in church or in a prayer place somewhere, as opposed to where they need to be.
Fantastic. On that note, we'll take a break. When we return, we'll continue more about childhood cancer. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Welcome back to the show. We're still talking about childhood cancer and what causes it and how to work on it. So we mentioned earlier about how, Perpetua mentioned earlier about how expensive it was to get treatment. How did you afford it?
It's through Doctors Foundation and the help of the doctors in Lut.
They introduced you to the foundation?
Yes.
Tell us
Dr.
about
Akishete, Dr. Akishete and Dr. Reina, even Dr. Temiye, Prof. Temiye, they are the people that call Doctors Foundation, and since then, the Doctors Foundation have been helping Emmanuel for his own treatment and every other things in it, even tests, and they X-ray and scan, they are the people.
That's such a wonderful thing. Please tell us more about the Doctors Foundation.
Okay,
I hear that you have the waiting list. You can't even take any more children.
Yes, we have a waiting list of 13 children right now, so we don't even have any space for more kids until we start to treat those ones. It's a foundation that was set up for children with cancer. It's called the Doctors Cancer Foundation, and we fund treatment and diagnosis, testing, just to get to the child to the point where he's a survivor, like with Emmanuel. And that's what we're trying to do with more children. But, you know, you can't take on care of a child and then halfway throw your hands in the air and say there's no money anymore. So we try to make sure we can assure that we can get to the end before we start.
Is there a way people can partner with you? Somebody might be watching, willing to donate something, you know, money or anything.
We're online, we have a website, cdcf.ng.
So what we'll do is we'll tweet your website, we'll tweet your details of the foundation. However, before we leave, I know that a lot of people are always worried about, what did I eat to cause this? What did I give my child to cause this? Is it something we're eating? Is it an environmental thing? Just educate us on the impact of our diet on cancer.
That's another thing. To just people say it's our mobile phones and all these our
radiations
making cancer so prevalent.
It's a great question. In adults, it's true. Diet is the #1 cause of cancer in adults now. In children, it doesn't apply because the child hasn't been exposed to any carcinogens long enough for him to have developed cancer as a result of that. It's other things, it's genetic aberrations, like I said, and things that we can't even explain yet. So diet for a child is not, it's great for a child to eat healthy, yes, because of later in life, but not as a preventive measure for cancer now. The truth is, there's really nothing anyone can do to prevent cancer in a child. The best we can do is to discover it early and treat it properly so that he can move on with his life and become a doctor or a pilot like Emmanuel. But in adults, yes, diet is important, lifestyle is, but everything causes cancer, as I tell people, and nothing causes cancer. Everybody's exposed to the same things. It depends on what's in the water.
You're a medical doctor, and I'm sure you know.
It depends on what's in the water. We're all exposed to the same things, but some people have a greater predisposition to develop it than others. The other thing is everybody already has aberrant cells in them already. What happens now is the decisions that you make are either allowing those cells to flourish or they're stifling them.
So I wanted to talk about alternatives. People usually online now, you see some people say they're just making money off you by cancers. You should eat this and this and this. You know, you should use certain herbs, certain substances that
I saw a video.
I'm 100% opposed to that, and this is what I say. It's good to make those measures before you get ill. It's good to live healthy and take herbs and eat natural and be a vegan if you want to, if there's nothing wrong. At the point where something is wrong, There are 3 ways out, and it's treatment: surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy.
Then there's, you know, this water in a plastic bottle. There's this text that if you put it in the car,
and something bleaches into it. The research is out, but we know that there is some link, because that's why they started making BPA-free bottles. There are chemicals in those bottles that can be harmful, just like the chemicals in your hairspray and in your body lotion and in your eyeshadow and in the bleach you use in your kitchen and everything.
No, they always say just stay with things that are natural. Stay off as much as possible off chemicals and things that are chemical related. That's just it at the end of the day. But one thing I've learned from you, because we're rounding off, Nima, can we have some tweets?
Yes, they're not dropping. Most of them are on the floor.
One thing I've learned from you is that when you have sicknesses, if your child is sick, go to the hospital immediately.
Absolutely.
Get if it is protracted for a while, get a second opinion.
A professional second opinion.
Consultant in pediatrics.
Yes.
You know, and I think that that's something we should all learn from. General hospitals might be the only solution. Teaching hospitals. Thank you so much. That's how far we can go on today's show. Why can't you have tweets for us? 2 before we go.
Yeah, most of them are. It says the administration and the management of our hospitals should not be left in the hand of the medical doctor. Government is not a ghost made up of people, and if the head is insane, the whole system gets bad. There was one on child cancer. I have to look for that. Okay, wait, hold on. Childhood cancer is real. Unfortunately, we live in a society that attaches spirituality evil to everything. That is M.W. Pearl.
All right, that's all we can take. Go to the hospital, pray, but go to the hospital also. Thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.